It's not really a proper question. It's more a sort of... Anyway. I'm looking at the Facebook pages and reading the books, and things are falling into place. I'm sort of understanding it better. The only thing is the dream side of it. I never have any sort of dreams that make any sense, and even if I have them, I've forgotten them. And I'm not getting frustrated because that's silly, but I just wonder is there a technique to dream properly?
Well, yes, everybody wants the magic pill, and I go through that too myself. We all do. We all go through whatever because we're in creation, and it does take a lot, Gwen. It takes a whole lot to be able to see through this and understand it. And yet creation is going to do what it's going to do, just like the weather every day. You know, the weatherman can say it's going to be sunny, then all of a sudden it rains, you know, because the weather's going to do what it's going to do. And we are in creation. And there are, again, there are certain understanding of things that you experience. But again, it's how you pay attention. I used many different techniques, and I go through it too, to where some nights I don't have anything, and then all of a sudden things show up. It goes back and forth, etc., because of the personal self here, etc. What's going on? So you can try different things. There are different techniques. One of them I tried when I was younger, which worked, was I would take those little stick papers that are about 2 by 2. To put notes on, and I'd put them around the house, on the cabinets, on the door, and whatever, and I would put on it, this is a dream, I'm dreaming. And on the real side, eventually you'd pick that up, you'd become aware that you did that, you see. But your real awareness is doing certain things, etc., that the personal self, for the most part, and it takes a while, and everybody's different, you just it doesn't really understand what's going on because it's set up a particular way. And the bigger part is, it's not always the images for me, it's not always the experience, but for me it's the invisible side. Even when you do have experiences, there's the reality that supports it, and that's the isnness. For the most part, that's the part I look at. And so, and you got to be able to read that and see it. That's perceiving it, because it's invisible. It doesn't exist in the intellectual sense. You have to actually recognize it and in some way bring it into a literal sense to recognize it in some way. But there's the real you, and by the very fact that as you read the new books or whatever, and you see what we're doing, you have a better understanding of things. So look at that, first of all, and you'll notice that that's invisible. You know, it's like your relationship with others, the love idea or whatever. It's all invisible, isn't it? That's the reality of life. The bigger part of life is that, and we also have this seen part. So relate to that as much as you can and learn to see whatever you do. And you know, you may be surprised, the real side will pick up. So you decide how much attention you're going to put there and how you want things to be also. So you have to decide that. You have to decide to want to see more of that too. You see, it's not going to just happen. For some people it does. They've done it before and it's kind of set up. But if it's a particular way, again, it's like anywhere you want to go here. It doesn't mean someone's going to come and pick you up and take you. You have to decide to go there, even if you got to walk or you take the bus. It's like, oh, I want to go across town and to the museum. But you can sit there and think in your house, well, gee, why doesn't somebody come and ask me to go to the museum? You know, so that's where you decide. You're the decider, you see? So little by little, because it's a big deal as we go through these experiences. And plus you talk with Peter back and forth. This will help you too as you objectively look at his experiences, you see, and that's where we really want to be. It's harder to see ourselves, and it's easier to see others and the experience they have, and to be objective, and that's what you want to learn more so to be, is objective, instead of just subjective with the personal self, where it's just locked into its routines and it only sees itself. But you decide that, you see? That's where the adventure comes in. You decide that.
Okay, thanks very much. That's all I wanted to ask this time. Hand you over to Kevin now. He's only got about 10 pages of questions, so...
All right, Gwen. Hello then. Well, I got some dream experiences to share. To start with, I had a whole series of very mixed up and convoluted dreams that sort of culminated in this very strange one indeed, which I shall now relate to you. All right, it was a very weird dream, but it was one of those very vivid dreams too. One of those ones so vivid, in fact, that you remember it for a very, very long time. And it didn't make a lot of sense to me, so I'll just anyway. So I would find myself in a seminar, and lots of people were there. And the odd bit about this seminar was it seemed to be an Eckankar seminar, which was very strange, as I've never been affiliated with them in any shape or form, and certainly don't intend to. I was listening to a kind of tape of some recording or other while I was there, and I was the only one listening to it there, and it sent me into a trance. So I was in my trance, and I was wandering through a weird, earthy type subterranean tunnel. And I was pushing through all these soft and organic type doors. And I then reached a final door, and it wouldn't open. And then there were all these wolves there that attacked me. And they seemed to be guardians of this final door. And then they were gone. And there was an individual there now, and I thought it was possibly a guide. And this individual explained why I couldn't access this door, although I can't remember the specifics of what he said. But when I asked him who he was, he became very defensive and angry, and he would inform me he was my future great-great-grandchildren, which is rather strange. Not grandchild, but children. And then I awoke from the trance, and it seemed that during my trance I'd accidentally harmed what seemed to be a winged bipedal dragoness, and she seemed very familiar, and she seemed to be she seemed to be my mate, and I felt very guilty, so I let her smack me upside down the head in return. And then the whole room of people suddenly turned on me, and they wanted to string me up and hang me by the neck and set me on fire. But then I summoned these great snakes to me, and they squirmed up my sleeves, and I can still feel the sensation because it was such a very vivid dream. Then I was launching these snakes at the attackers, and while I was doing this, one snake was on my shoulder and it was talking to me, and I remember hoping that it wouldn't bite me. And then in the final scene, I was at home suddenly, and Mum was there, but she was disfigured, her face all out of alignment, and somehow I'd also caused this to her during my trance. And then I woke up.
Okay, another daily mess, huh?
Okay. Told you it was a weird one.
Okay, yeah, see, that'll teach you. You got to do the dishes every day. Well, again, you started off and you got a view of the Ekkas and what's going on at the seminar, etc. and you're going down, which only makes sense, and into the tunnel underground, which they are. All right, so you're getting a view here. All right, and because that's familiar with me and many others, and I don't know if you're familiar with it or whatever. Did you ever know about Ekankar or anything?
Only what I've heard and read about. I mean, I said I've never been a member of it, so beyond that, just what I've heard more or less on these Skypes and so forth.
Right, and that's fine. That's fine. It doesn't matter. In other words, you're getting an overview of it. Well, it's an interesting little adventure, isn't it? So you're personally seeing what's really going on. Let's just say it that way, because you are. So you're given the experience because you've read about it, and now you might say you're ready for the experience. Kind of like a brochure of, on Italy, and you want to go to Italy. Well, you read the brochure first, and then you go through the process, and eventually you're experiencing Italy. You took the trip, and so this is what you've done. You've took the trip down to these tunnels, and the very last door, no, that's where Harold would be. That's who you encountered, all the wolves. Well, that's very common, because those are, you might say, those are the higher initiates of Joni. Those are her wolves. She's turned everyone into animals, is what she's done. And so, and the part where, you got the winged dragon there, whatever, and etc. I wouldn't doubt if that's Joni, because she flies around. She's like that. And the idea where you're considering that this is your mate or whatever, well, again, you're in a trance, and she can throw impressions at you, etc. And at some point, it's kind of like when you're in the experience, it's like anything. Let's just say you walk into a church, okay, and you're not religious, you just want to walk in and see what it's about or whatever. Well, many times the priest or somebody else comes up and starts talking to you, right? And why would they do that? They'd say something like, hello, my son, come in. Did you come to pray or whatever? And you're saying, no, I just came to see the place. And, the priest keeps talking, etc., because he's a salesman, is what he is. It seems like he's very benevolent or whatever, and some of them are, but for the most part, they're salesmen. They're going to try and get you to be a believer, right? Well, at some point, and this can be in a scary movie, all of a sudden the priest sees that you don't agree. Okay, you're not buying it, and so you start to walk out, and all of a sudden the door that you came in closes, and all the lights go off, and it gets kind of spooky dark, etc. So it's like one of those scary movies, you see. So you're on this little adventure here, and to seeing, at the seminars and stuff like that, this X seminar, but eventually you're not agreeing. Okay, so they've enticed you in some way. Okay, you're in a trance, they've enticed you in some way, but at some point they see you're not agreeing, so they start attacking you. See? And so you can kind of figure out the rest from there. But I would say that is Harold, because, and the last door, no, you're not to go in there, because that's where Harold is. He's way underground. He's really in a dark, dark area. And again, that's where he became rather angry and whatever. And so, yeah, well, he's the master. So you may think in some way, well, he's some kind of guide. Well, he is. He's a guide to hell. His own hell that he's created with Joni. So you start to look at it, and it's a little bit indifferent. And I would say that you've come back to your mother. Well, I would say that that's part of the phenomena too. Was it really your mother, or was it a projection? Was it a hologram? You see, because when you see it as a distortion, all right, the idea is it really that person, or is it a distortion, or is it a hologram they tried to put together real fast to appear like your mother, but they didn't quite get it together, and you see through it, you see?
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, well, just like the world. Look at the world here. Look at the world here that you're in. Look out there, and you know about the system. You look at everything here. Everything you're looking at from the house you live in is a distortion. But you think it's okay, don't you? But it's all a distortion. It has nothing to do with the natural environment. Look at how the Amazon people live. Look at how the indigenous people live. Do they look out and are they in a house or are they in boxes? Well, they have little huts made out of the natural environment, but did they look out and see freeways and buildings and cars and all this stuff? They don't see that. That's all distortion. But we've agreed to the distortion, haven't we? You see? Yeah, you don't see it that way, do you? But it's all distortion. And, people, they chase it. They chase money. They chase all these things. It's all distortion. So this is where what we're bringing, we're implying the all-natural environment, which is really the isness life is, because it is everything. And we've got to kind of sneak it in. And this is where, yes, the benefit of what you're going through, the distortion, when you recognize it, you can be motivated by recognizing it's a distortion. And then that should motivate you to recognizing something real. So until you do, and it's a big journey. But again, that gives you kind of an idea of the experience, and then you kind of make it from there. And it also gives you a comparison, okay, as to what we're doing. So as you look at what they're doing, and you're seeing the real side of what they're doing. And that's just one way to look at it. There's many ways to look at it, okay? It gets a lot worse than that. That was almost a nice experience about them, all right? But as you look at them in the physical sense, it really looks all proper, doesn't it? With the temple and the nice pictures on the internet and all that. Just go to the internet and look at the Eckankar site and that. It all looks really proper, doesn't it? Now compare that to your experience. Yeah, but you're the decider, you see? You always decide to see it or not. And a lot of people will think, oh, no, that's not it. These are really good people. You see? Are they?
Okay, thank you, Duane.